So Simon, good to see you, buddy.
Morning.
How's it going?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, good. So we've got another beauty in the workshop today. And I've got to say, before we get into any detail, absolutely love this colour. It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Arrow blue.
Arrow blue.
Yep.
Yeah, love it. It's kind of, it's got a little hint, I don't know if it picks it up on the camera, but it's got a little hint of like purple to it.
Yeah.
But obviously it's very blue, but that little hint, it's just such a cool colour.
It's nice that it's a different colour as well, because you do get bored with the whites and the reds and the blacks and everything. It's nice it's a different colour.
It is.
Makes it more interesting when you're building these cars.
Awesome. So, as you may be able to tell, it's not got an engine in at the moment. It's not jacked up. It's not going down the Baja route.
Yeah.
It is. It's waiting its engine, but there's a bit of a story behind this one. So, let's start by talking about. So, when did you first get to see this car?
This car came in, I think, in 2021. Supposed to be for a light restoration, but it did turn into a bigger restoration because of the amount of work we found when we started digging into it.
So what did it start out as?
1973, 2.4T.
Wow. Okay. So just before impact bumper.
Yes.
That year came through. So it's like the last year before they upgrade them. So obviously this is the desirable spec.
Yeah, this is like the last where America got the look before it had to be changed to the impact bumpers.
Got you. So what would the engine have been in this originally?
2.4T K-Jet, which is the very first K-Jets that they did on America in 2.4cc.
Awesome. Okay. And the guy that owns it, what's the story behind that? What was his?
He bought the car and then bought the car to us, as I say, hopefully for a light restoration, and wanted it to look this 2.7 RS look, which it looks now. It was narrow body when it came to us.
Okay, so it started off narrow body.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it would have been an original T, narrow body, pre-impact bumper, and was it an American import? Was it?
Yeah, he imported. Well, he bought it off someone that had imported it from America.
Okay, cool, brilliant. And was it this colour?
Yeah, it's the original colour. We put that. That's the nice thing about it. It's the original colour, and really, as I say, with the RS bumpers that we fitted and the wider arches on the back, it gives it the RS look, which is what he wanted.
Awesome. Okay, so it came in 2021.
Yep.
Light restoration that turned into more of a
a lot more welding sills and rear quarter panels and front wings and
And that's quite a common story with these kind of restorations, and sometimes there's a lot of hidden, gremlins that end up going from, and so presumably had a full respray.
Yeah, well, but it ended up having a full restoration inside and out and a full respray.
Okay, so now it's an absolute minter.
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. So then he had it back.
Yep.
Drove it around for a bit. So what's it? By the way, were these wheels part of the original restoration? Because these wheels are gorgeous.
Yeah, he bought those on there. Originally, it just had the normal 6-inch features on there, so he sourced those and had them restored to put on there, and they do give it that nice period look.
They're also. I don't know whether you want to zoom in a bit, Jack, because the tyres on these are really cool, aren't they? They must be some traditional. What do they call them? Are they cross plies? Are they all?
Yeah, they're just the period. Yeah, the period tyres. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
period
it.
Tyres it should have on there.
So they've got big sidewalls, and it just looks really cool, doesn't it?
We did all the suspension at the same time as well, so we stripped it all, powder coated all the wishbones, and went through it all, new inserts, shock absorbers, etc., and just really refreshed it all for him.
And was the interior
Yeah, we had to. All the carpets had been wet before, so we put a new set of carpets in there and retrimmed his seats at the same time. That's all been taken out at the moment, because obviously we're climbing in and out of it, putting new fuel pipes, etc.
So he drove it round on the. Did it have the original engine in that he was using?
Yeah, it did actually run really well on the 2.4, which was very underpowered.
Yeah, because the 2.4 was it? What sort of horsepower do they put out? It's probably about 170, was it, something like that?
I wouldn't even think it's that on a 2.4. It's probably only about sort of 140 or something on KJ. It wouldn't have been very quick.
Right. So I guess as the story goes, it got a bit frustrated with the lack of power.
Yeah, he decided this winter it would come in and we would build something more powerful for it.
Fantastic. So I guess probably worth, Jack, if you just want to come and have a little look inside. It's got all the bits and bobs out before we get into the nuts and bolts of why it's actually in here and what it's having done. But you can see, although it's got all the bits and bobs out of it at the moment, it's a really clean car inside. love that steering wheel and all of this Alcantara style dash, and everything's period. So when it all gets put back together with is it the houndstooth we call that? Yeah, it's what seats will be going back in it.
He's got some Recaro seats that we had recovered for it, so they'll go back in there. Period Recaros.
And it's got the door cards, the RS style door cards, so lightweight. So this will be a really light car as well, I imagine.
Yeah. The good thing is, I mean, it's unusual to do a car that's a 73 to make it look like another 73, because usually you're doing something later to make it look like that. So it's got so many period parts on it, you know, even down to the oil system makes it look so period. Correct.
Yeah. So really, it's just like having an original car that was updated to a higher spec car of exactly the same year.
Yeah.
Which is
period correct.
Yeah, keeps it nice and authentic.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about it.
Beautiful. So he brought it back in, and it's obviously cosmetically perfect, but he wanted a bit bigger engine. So how did that conversation go?
Basically, he'd got an engine from another project, and I said, well, you'd be better off using the engine out of this in the other project, and the engine you've got for the other car, the 3 litre, we could build you a modified engine for this.
Brilliant. So we've gone from the 2.4 to a 3 litre.
Yep.
And this is it.
Yep.
Okay.
Haven't finished it yet, so we just thought we'd show where we've got to with it.
Okay, so this engine obviously looks awesome. I love the Gulf blue and the orange. It just looks fantastic. I take it that was your idea.
It was.
That's a bit.
I like trying different things. It gets boring otherwise. So, yeah.
So I really want to get into this because obviously it's a 3 litre engine, and I'm really curious to understand the conversation that was had. The guy obviously wants more horsepower.
Yeah.
And what are you anticipating from this 3 litre engine from a horsepower perspective?
Around about 265 brake, hopefully.
Around 265. So when you have that conversation with the customer, does it start with I want to achieve the horsepower, or does it start with I've got this budget? What can that get me?
The budget obviously plays a part in it, but there's some ingredients that you put into it, cams and pistons, that will obviously gain your brake horsepower as part of the rebuild.
Okay, and so the conversation starts with, okay, how far do you want to go in terms of what components? And so what's that first component that you would discuss then as to what gets upgraded or stays standard?
Well, we would obviously the normal components in the engine rebuild, ARP head studs and big end bolts will give you better protection.
What difference do
they're
stud
stainless
bolts?
steel aircraft specification? The head studs help hold the heads down. They're much better quality than the factory ones.
And why would you need to hold the heads down more?
Because you're going to be running bigger compression ratio with the pistons, and it just all works a lot better, and you don't have the problems that you have with them doing what they normally do with the standard ones, like braking.
Okay, so basically it just makes the engine more robust.
Yeah, I mean we've never had any problems with the ARP head studs.
And does that then mean that you can rev higher, or is it?
No, the head studs don't really change that. You can change the big end bolts to ARP. They're better than to hold hold the conrods, but you can change to a better quality conrod because they're stronger and balanced.
From a layperson's point of view, what's a conrod? What does that do?
The conrod bolts to the crankshaft and attaches to the piston.
So that's the bit between the piston and the
your
crank.
moving component, yeah.
Okay, and so the conrods. Do you get choices onto what conrods you would use?
Yeah, I mean you can use the factory conrods and improve them by using the better studs on them, or you can go for an aftermarket, say a Corello rod. They come as a match set. They're a lot more money, but again, you'll be able to rev the engine higher because of the quality of the conrod.
And what about the piston? Do you upgrade the pistons or keep the pistons?
No, upgrade the piston because the compression ratio of, say, a 3 litre SC engine is not good enough. You know, the shape of it is basically to work with the K-jet engine. You run a higher compression piston, a 10.5 to 1. So this has got in there.
Okay, so the piston needs to be upgraded in order to accommodate the additional pressure
to give you the greater compression ratio. Yeah.
Got you. Okay, awesome. And so then what about things like the crank? Does that stay the same, or?
A good standard crank, you know, that I like to use a good standard crank if I can. So they're pretty robust. You know, they are quite good.
So you don't normally recommend?
No, they're steel from standard, so you don't need to really do anything to it. You just get it all checked and polished, and they're good.
And then the next consideration, I would imagine, is that then the cams?
Yeah, the camshafts, again in this, the K-Jet camshafts were more because of the way that they worked. They suck in the air and the fuel, whereas if you use a more of a spiky, say, profile camshaft, it opens and shuts quicker to allow the fuel and the gases to get out quicker.
And so when it comes to the camshafts then, are there quite a lot of variables to consider, or is it just one that you tend to recommend?
I think on a good road engine, like an S-spec type profile is pretty good for the road. It's not too wild, but it runs well and you can drive it on. As I say, you can drive it on the road. Whereas if you start going for something more racy, the way that you drive it, you need to be more on revs higher up to make them work properly.
Because I'm not overly technical when it comes to engines, but I'm aware that I know I've seen people have some cams fitted that make the car less horsepower down low. And so what you're saying is the one that you recommend is it gives you a bit more of a broader power band, as opposed to everything at the top, which would be like a race cam.
Yeah, what you don't want is something that's going to come in, in a higher revs, where it all of a sudden comes in and you've got nothing low down. You want it to be sort of working all the way through the power band, through the power range that you're trying to tune the car for.
So when you're tuning a race engine, like the red car, which anybody that's watching, you'll see in the feed, there's a beautiful 911 that is now doing hill climbs and sprints. Would that have a different cam to a road car?
That's got a similar. We're using the S-type cams in that. We're getting good brake horsepower out of that. Yeah.
So that all works well.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we go through all those kind of decisions, and then you kind of putting a bit of a recipe together for how the engine comes together. Yeah. And a lot of that is dictated by these beauties on top, which not only look awesome.
They do look good. Gemby throttle bodies.
So these are the Gemby throttle bodies, and these kind of were they've always been the sort of the choice of the connoisseur, old school air-cooled 911.
It's the look of the trumpets, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
But the sound, the way that it sucks in the air, that 911 sound that you can hear. Yeah. It's there's nothing else like it.
And so these throttle bodies kind of have dictated quite a bit of the decision-making process that goes in the real gubbins of the engine to accommodate the way these work.
Yeah, I mean, if we put it onto carburetors, they're a nightmare because they go out of tune and et cetera. But once these are on there and they're set up properly on a rolling road, you don't really have any problems with them. You know, and again, hot and cold start and that sort of thing. If it's all set up properly, they're very reliable.
Yeah. And obviously they look fantastic. Yeah. They sound fantastic, and then
it does when you open up the boot and you look in and you see those in there.
Yeah.
It's a much more pleasing look than the K-Jet.
And when you're going through this decision-making process with an air-cooled engine, you've obviously got the big fan. Yeah. Do you ever get any issues with like overheating or anything like that when you start to tune an engine like this?
Not in this country. I mean, as I say, that you've got the oil system which helps cool it down, so you can add on, a cooling down to the front of the car if you want to try and make it run cooler. But in the temperatures that we get over here, you don't really get them running too hot.
Never get a problem.
No.
Awesome. That's been a real education. I find this fascinating. As I say, I don't know the gubbins of an engine that well, but I'm fascinated by the idea of somebody coming along and having a build with you. And I know you've got several engine rebuilds going on at the moment, and every one of them's different. Yeah. And like when we talked earlier, you were saying that you get a feel for what the horsepower is going to be just by understanding the variables in the recipe of what the interior is, but you never really know until you get it on the rolling road and you start tuning it.
Two cars can come out of the factory and one can be slightly quicker than another one. You never really know why, but just to say the ingredients that go into these, you should get good and much more brake horsepower than they came out of the factory with.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this will be going in there, which will mean it won't look quite so jacked up. And then we could probably get another little update on this car, I imagine.
Once we've got it in there and got it running, we'll do another update on it with the brake horsepower and how it's running. Yeah,
fabulous. Awesome. Brilliant. Well, thanks for watching, guys. And in the comments below, If you want to get more details on the specifics of this engine rebuild or any of these cars, just put a note in the comments, because we got some feedback from some of the other videos where people wanted to get a little bit more technical. And I'm asking the questions from a layman, so there might be some other questions that you wished I'd have asked. So just put them in the comments, and we'll get Simon and the team to answer anything you want to know. But thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.